Hi everybody, welcome to this week's video. I'd just like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I'd like to welcome Caitlin Zacharewicz to this week's video. And so what do you do in the operations team? I mean, some of our field volunteers would know, they would have called in, and there would have been this, and I'm part of this, so I can say this, would have been one of these people in North Melbourne that's asking all these questions and doing all this stuff while we're really doing the great work in a relief centre. But what do you do in operations?
So you mean besides call people when they're very busy and ask a lot of annoying questions?
That's right.
Um,
That's it.
Nothing. No, there's actually quite a lot that operations do, but you have kind of hit the nail on the head. Our main purpose within that broader incident management team is to be the contact point between all of our amazing divisional volunteers who are out there on the ground having that conversation face to face and supporting people who've been affected by disasters or emergencies. As most people would know, a lot of the times when our divisional teams are out there doing that work, they're sort of self-managed or they're just working with their divisional leaders in the office. When the emergency itself gets too big or too complex or goes on for too long, that's when the incident management team will get stood up, and that brings that sort of state level support over the top of it. And so when that happens, the operations function is really the main conduit. Like, we are the people that you will be talking to the most, primarily if you're out in the field, especially if you're a team leader or you're sort of leading a particular site. And our job is really to, first and foremost, support you and make sure that you're okay and you've got everything you need to do that job, to do it well, and to do it safely for yourself especially, and your other team members. So what that kind of looks like, I guess, in a day on a shift is we are the people that write your briefing documents or give you a verbal briefing. So first of all, we want to make sure you've got all the information that you need to head out to the site that you're going to. So you know who to contact, where you need to be, if there's any special requirements for what you're meant to be doing that day, a bit of the context of what's happening, all of the safety things to be aware of, all of the safety contact details, all of that kind of thing. We write that up, put that into the SMEACS document, which gets loaded up into Reds. So you should be able to see that when you check your shift details. But we also give you a call. You'll get a text message or a phone call straight first thing in the morning when you start your shift, or whatever time your shift starts, for us to introduce ourselves, make sure you've got that information. So you're starting off knowing everything that there is to know at that point. And then really we check in on you throughout the day. That's kind of it. We'll be giving you updates if anything changes that we're hearing from the command or from planning, who are sort of sorting that information. We also relay information from yourself in the field back to the rest of the incident management team. So for example, if we give you a call to check in and you say, it's going really well, but we're running out of forms, we're running out of teddies, actually it's really cold and we don't have the waterproof jackets, we'll be the people to pass that on to the logistics function, who can get that sorted for you, and we'll pass that message back to make sure you know that something's being done about it and what you can expect and when that should be able to get to you if it can. And then I guess sort of on that same note, the other thing that we sort of are really responsible for is relaying that other information about what's happening to the community that you're working with. So first and foremost, we're there to support you and make sure that you have all the information you need, and that if you need anything, we're passing it to the right people. But then through you, the teams who are in the field talking to the community members, we're also really interested in making sure that the community members' needs and their information is captured, and that gets passed up through to the Red Cross sort of chain of command, but also into the other agencies. So that's the bit that we started off on, with the annoying questions that come to you in the mid of your shift, which is the field reporting. And that's when we want to sort of check in to see, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and really your eyes and ears and your perspective on who's there and what they're experiencing is just invaluable. And that's why we ask those questions and try and capture that in a report so that we can share that with other people.
That's it's a great explanation. Look, the field reporting is look, let's be honest, it's a pain point, but it's really, really important. Like, I think the way I think about it, and it's not literally this, but the way I like to think about it is that the information that you pick up from the ground can inform the Premier in the decisions that the Premier makes. because we're Red Cross, because we're independent, because we have the power of the emblem behind us, people tell us things that they're not necessarily going to tell people that are in a uniform, for example. And we've got a pretty fine-tuned radar for picking up those things and passing them through. So there's as I've operated as commander, there's been a number of times that I've picked up the phone to the state manager to fee or and said, we're hearing this on the ground. And we try hard to try and loop that back to you in the relief centre, but unfortunately we don't always get to. But that information that's provided is just so important, and it's just so valuable. So Caitlin, do you have to be in North Melbourne to volunteer in the operations function in North?
No, not at all. We do operate out of the Emergency Operations Centre, which some people might have seen, the big room, and with the colourful tabards on with the red one, just FYI, if you ever do pop in to see us. But no, the entire incident management team, like many workplaces after COVID, operates on a hybrid model. So we have team members based all around the state. Some are also part of divisional teams. Some belong purely to the incident management team in the operations function. And on any given shift, and also for our meetings and our sort of training outside of activations, the team operate in a blended way. So we'll have some people online and we'll have some people in person. So it's quite flexible in that way, which is really good.
Yeah, it's really shifted, hasn't it? I mean, the traditional model was always having people on site, but I can tell you in the IMT, it's a really good model, because you used to be able to have this massive room full of people, which was lovely. There's noise and conversations, and but it's really quite a calm place, and there's enough folks in North Melbourne generally for us to be able to talk to each other and ask questions and get information quickly. But there's also these folks that are often online that are doing the really heavy lifting of reaching out into relief centres and chatting to people and doing all those things. So,
and we certainly have a really some of the systems. Not that that's exciting for a lot of people, but the way we use our systems is also quite different. So that information, say if someone from operations is having a chat with you in a field centre or a relief centre, if you've got something important to share that needs to get back to the incident management team, it's instantaneous, and we can share it in a way that everyone can access it straight away if it's appropriate and that's what's required. So it's been a really good way of working, and it certainly means that there's a lot more flexibility for our operations team members at the moment.
Yeah, it's a really well organised function. Again, as sitting in my seat, sometimes as a commander, I've got really good visibility into operations, and I can, as I do with the other functions too, but it's great to be able to see exactly what's going on really quickly. And this new way of working has enabled us to do that. So thank you, Caitlin. Have you got any last comments? Question I do have, how do you, if you want to become an IMT volunteer in the operations function, how do you do that?
That is a good question. The one other thing I might add first, though, is just around the work that operations do and sort of our key responsibilities. The other really critical one that comes back to supporting our volunteers who are out there in the field is I think around the debriefing, because as you said, so really, I think if there's a one takeaway from operations function and what we do, it's that it's really the connection and the support for our teams in the field.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. It's been a really interesting conversation, and you've really given us a great picture of how the operations function works in the IMT. So get amongst it, folks.